My mom was going up in age and she had some health issues. So I had to bring her to the hospital several times. And many times she had to stay in the hospital. And when she stayed here, initially she was very apprehensive about how things are going to go. The nurses were so good in welcoming her and making her feel at home. They're very kind, very family-oriented, I should say, and put her at ease, took care of all her needs. And I must say that the nurses were very good in taking care of her. The nurses worked very well as a team, and the group of nurses who were treating her and who were taking care of her knew exactly, what her needs were, and at what time she needed what medications, and who her doctors were and how to contact her doctors. And they also kept me informed as to what was going on. She felt very confident during her stay. The first time she was apprehensive, but all that apprehension disappeared when all the nurses stepped in and took such good care of her that she was very confident, happy, and had no fears of spending her time in the hospital alone.
About 3 years ago, my mother was very ill, and I had to take her into Intercommunity Hospital. She was received very well, and she was in the hospital for about a week. And she was on the second floor and then down on the first floor. And it was during Christmas time, right before Christmas, and she wanted to be home for Christmas. But she was so happy with the staff, how they took care of her, how they greeted her with a smile, and how they acknowledged her. And she was just so pleased to be there. And so I took her home with hospice at home, and I took care of her for several months. But when she passed away, I wanted to get back to Intercommunity for the care and the happiness they gave my mom. I now volunteer there 1 to 2 days a week, saying thank you, Intercommunity, for loving my mom.
2 years ago, my wife was at this hospital, and the care that she got there was tremendous. When I brought her in, they put her immediately on a ventilator, and actually it was what was keeping her alive. And the nurses that were there through the 24-hour day that she was there, they were wonderful. And as time went on, there was one particular nurse that I remember. Her name was Renata, and she was just a wonderful lady. Took care of my wife with very, very gentle care. And after several days, after speaking to the doctor, realized that the only thing that was keeping my wife alive was the ventilator. So we decided just to remove the ventilator. And Renata was the nurse that had to give her the morphine injection to help with the procedure. When they removed the ventilator, my wife passed in a very short time. And Renata was there with her when this happened. And of course, we had the funeral, and then several weeks, or maybe a month later, I went back to being a volunteer and going through the wards and visiting heart patients. And one of these wards that I was walking through, I spotted this nurse, Renata, and I saw her, and I nodded to her, and she turned around and looked at me. She came over and she put her arms around me and gave me this big hug, and asked me how I was doing. And this was one of the most compassionate things that ever happened to me. She's such a wonderful lady to remember this, and I've never forgotten her.